We'll worry about that after this portion, I guess. 23rd October, 10:44 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. Mr. Naruto, what on earth were you playing at just now? That's my question, or rather, what on earth were you playing at all along? My hypothesis! My amazing hypothesis! You've been picking holes in it from the start! Sorry about that. But you promised me! You said you'd prove that tragic explosion was an accident, not murder! You said you'd keep my precious invention from falling into anyone else's hands! But all you've done so far is try to undermine me! Sir, I'm trying to find the truth. Yes, I did make you a promise, you're right. I said that I believe in you and fight for your freedom to the very end. But I also told you I was no scientist. I don't understand your hypothesis. The fact is, there's an undeniable flaw in your logic, isn't there? Oh, sure, thank you. But if I just run through some equations, yes, you see, it's because my work is incomplete. Perhaps it is. Nevertheless, a man died as a consequence, didn't he? Oh no! You're right. You're so right. It's all my fault. And I have no right to blame you for my failures. I'm a disaster. No, just not just as a scientist, but as a human being. Well, that might be a little over the top. And while we're on the subject, what about Baroque? He's being awful. Claiming his old university friend to be a murderer, you mean? He's a disaster, not just as a prosecutor, but as a human being. Oh no, wait. He's the Reaper, isn't he? Perhaps he's not classified as a Homo sapiens anymore. Albert. Glad that's cleared up. Naruhodo. Can I double-check something with you? Yes? What? The machine and demonstration you prepared, they were based entirely on your hypothesis, I presume. There was no trickery involved. Prosecutors are not human. I drew the plans for the machine with my very own hands. Every line was painstakingly drawn with the firm belief that science is the only future. So yes, it's true that my hypothesis hasn't reached maturity yet, but please, Mr. Naruhodo, you must believe in it. All right, Professor, I understand. Counsel, defendant, that means he's going to sabotage his hypothesis. The prosecution's witnesses are ready to take the stand. Court is about to be in session again. Make your way into the courtroom, please. It all hinges on that demonstration. If the professor's hypothesis is sound as he claims, it leaves him as the only person who could possibly have killed the victim. But on the other hand, Mr. Sholmes was adamant. A practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible. So really, what should I be trying to prove here? Well, I should say, don't worry about the hypothesis and just uncover the truth, Naruhodo. Albert's just gonna have to suck it up and deal with it. 23rd October, 11 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Rubble, 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 rubble. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready for the new witnesses to testify? The prosecution is ready, my lord. As is the defense, my lord. So, Lord Vanzeeks, I believe these next witnesses saw the demonstration on the day in question with their own eyes. Indeed, they did. And as luck would have it, one of them is a police detective. So the testimony we are about to hear can be considered highly reliable. Perfect. A detective of all people. The prosecution's stance remains unchanged. Though it ended in tragedy, the demonstration on the day in question was scientifically sound. and consequently, the sole person with the opportunity to have committed this act of murder is the only other individual to have been present at the stage at the time, the accused.
Thank you, counsel. The prosecution's position is clear. So, bring forth your witnesses now.
Bailiff, show the witnesses in. The witnesses whose proximity to the incident on the day in question will clarify the truth unequivocally. Okay. The boy is here! And Gina! Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court to hear. My name is Balthasar Loon. Balthasar Loon? Balthasar Loon? Saloon? Balloons? Balthasar Loons. His Japanese name was something else, and I'm trying to find it now. For some reason, the boy doesn't actually have a name. He's just called the Bohemian Boy Guts in Japanese. Rumba Malmaki. Rumba Malmaki. Okay, I don't actually know what that is referring to, but I just want to let you know that his Japanese name was Rumba Malaki. Momaki. Excuse me. I am the impresario of all the hot air balloons in vicinity of the experimental stage.
My name is Wilhelm Gostrich Sigmund Ornstein.
Oh god, his name! He still has the long name.
I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia.
I appreciate this guy's, like, hair. His hat is literally a hot air balloon.
I'm very rich.
Yes, I can see that, boy!
Inspector Gina Lestrade, Scotland Yard. I'm a great detective. Even Erlach Shams agrees.
Really?
I was on security duty at the exhibition, and I got to go up in one of the balloons. It was amazing.
Gina, again. But she did mention that she's seen the disaster from up in a balloon, actually, didn't she? And she clearly loved every minute of it. There were 3 balloons flying near the public experimentation stage when the incident occurred. 2 of these witnesses were in such balloons at the time and saw events unfold from the skies above. You make it sound like they were in the clouds. It was only an altitude of circa 60 feet. Very low.
Well, ya can't see nothing if you fly too high, can ya?
60 feet. About 18 meters then.
Thank you for your introductions. Now you will give your formal testimony for the court. Kindly describe exactly what you witnessed, especially those of you who had a vantage point above the stage.
Okay, but no, Inga is just even longer than this name, and it's more ridiculous than this boy. The view from 60 feet up. It was an incident terrible. I am only grateful that my balloons were not damaged.
There's this huge bang from the stage, and the next second, another bang in the sky beside us. And from amid the smoke, a cage appeared out of nowhere.
The cage, it fell from sky like a stone, and crashed into the crystal tower.
I didn't get a good look inside the cage, but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower.
Yeah, Gina is actually up there as a witness and not the accused. It's a nice change of pace.
What a most extraordinary collective account, I must say.
Could I just clarify something? There's a detail in the witness's testimony that I've not heard any mention of until now. Specifically, that there were 2 explosions. More precisely, 2 explosions in 2 separate places, yes. When the demonstration began, the balloon carrying the 2 witnesses was around here. There were other balloons in the air nearby at the time, carrying other passengers as well, to be clear. Then, as power was supplied to the machine for the demonstration, the first explosion occurred. The so-called bird cage that contained the victim disappeared from the stage, and a moment later, the second explosion occurred, directly adjacent to the balloon carrying the witness. The birdcage appeared at the site of the explosion, subsequently to plummet down into the crystal tower.
I was very surprised. Suddenly a cage appeared before my eyes with a person inside. The blast was so hot, but I didn't want to miss a thing, so I kept my eyes wide. I still have lots of money.
Precisely. Who is this curious infant?
I'm told he is a young noble of Bohemian royalty. Apparently, he disguised himself in order to steal unnoticed into the great exhibition.
Yeah, I am here in London on a sightseeing trip with my elementary school.
We will have the benefit of child's point of view in the testimony. Do we really need that? Do we also need a child in the jury? It's too late now, Naruhodo. We have a child in the jury seat, so.
When I removed my mask, this is what I looked like.
What a gorgeous boy.
Oh, yes, I see. A delightful face, I'm sure.
Yeah, everybody say so.
Great disguise, then. The point is, the testimony of these witnesses further substantiates the facts for the court. Namely, that despite ending in an explosion, instantaneous kinesis was successfully demonstrated. And furthermore, that until the arrival of the police, no one approached the crystal tower where the victim fell. Therefore, only the accused, who was with Mr. Asman on the stage, could possibly have committed the murder.
Yes, thank you, counsel. The prosecution's views on the matter are quite clear. So, the defendant's cross-examination now, please.
Yes, my lord. I can see a problem already because we do have a piece of something that looks like it came from a hot air balloon. But let me check to make sure I have nothing else to look at it. This weird thing. It looks like layers of thick canvas with a thick rubber lining of sorts. I've never seen anything like it before. But applying Mr. Schoen's methods, you might deduce it was part of a raincoat worn by someone who really didn't want to get wet. And the charring must have occurred when the person was struck by lightning. Naruhodo! Or maybe not. Naruhodo! Oh my god, his imagination's wild. Hold it! There were 3 balloons flying above the experimentation stage at the time, I understand. See, all 3 of them, by Basilimi Bambini. Oh, is he Italian? Portuguese? They are very popular, signor. Some people will pay £10 for one ride. £10? That's more than my annual stipend.
£20 a month. That is my pocket money.
Royals have all the luck.
I got up there for free, I did. Played the old I work for Her Majesty police card, you know?
Detectives have all the luck. If you're so popular, why would you only be operating such a small number of balloons, though? Because if I have too many in the skies, they could crash into each other. The operators for the balloons were decided by lots, which each operated manning a particular area. See, and that zone above public experimentation stage is the most profitable. The other is impresarios. They hate me. Okay.
Thank you, witness. I think the court has a clear picture of the arrangements for balloon rides at the exhibition. Perhaps we could hear more about what you actually witnessed of the incident.
Right, I can fill you in there, my lord. Hold it! So you actually saw the accident happen from up in the air?
Yep. Isn't it amazing what a detective gets to do, eh? Gina, I'm telling you, Odo, being a lawyer is a mug's game. You should join the force and we can go flying together.
You know me so well. Yes, well, anyway, could you tell us exactly what you saw, do you think?
Everything. We saw everything, because we were up above it all.
That dodgy cove climbing into that cage and that dodgy professor pulling all them levers. And that's when it happened. That's when there was that massive bang and the cage disappeared, just like that.
You are describing the moment the subject's body was decomposed by the electricity, I believe.
I didn't know what to make of it. But then there was another bang, right in my ear. I looked round and there was a huge great fireball right next to us in the sky.
That's Peter.
And there was nothing there before. And what appeared out of the flames? The cage, that's what.
And that description sounds like the moment after the man was beamed instantaneously through space.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it? But that's the 20th century for you, I reckon. So the people who actually saw the demonstration with their own eyes really believed they saw something miraculous taking place.
Hold it!
So you're saying that you witnessed the actual moment that the instantaneous kinesis took place. During this stay in London, I have seen many extraordinary things. The great exhibition itself, the instantaneous kinesis, big explosions, the village courtrooms and strange creatures. Sorry, strange creatures? Yeah, you, a most unusual creature from the east.
Excuse me.
Oh, yes. But I see Princess wearing mask every day of the week. Did you also see the moment that the cage materialized, Mr. Loon? No, I did not see the explosion myself. However...
Hold it!
Did you see that actually happen? No, in reality I did not. I saw after it hit the tower. That was a grande confusione around the stage. I ran to see what had happened. I was terrorized by the idea that one of my balloons had crashed. I suppose they are his livelihood. But when I looked up to the sky, all my precious balloons were still there. I saw it though. I saw it slam into the tower. After all, I'm a detective now. Then tell us what you saw, Inspector Lestrade. That's what I'd like to hear. Finally, some attention.
Hold it!
Was it you who gave the order to keep people away? Use your head, Nahodo. How could it have been me? I was up in a balloon, wasn't I? There's so many accents, I can't do it. Right. I can manage Agina, I can manage the boy, but I can't manage the Italian. Is he Italian or Spain? I can't tell. So cause I wasn't available, it was the boss who had to leg it over there. It was getting shoved and kicked all over by the panicking spectators as he tried to steal off the scene. It was a real sight to behold, I could tell you. Amazing. Poor Inspector Gregson. So anyway, I couldn't see the cage that well because of all the smoke. And I didn't really want to see, to be honest. I was scared out of me wits. Keep it together, Inspector. Someone else has a problem with crime scenes. The prosecution really is asserting that the demonstration was genuine. But what if it was actually some kind of switch-around trick instead? That would mean that the victim was never actually on the stage in the first place. The two explosions would have thrown everyone watching into a panic for sure. I think I need to find out more about what exactly people saw at the time. Oh, what, you.
Hold it!
That's Peter.
I couldn't quite catch what he was saying there.
Excuse me.
Master Gotts, does your memory of the day differ? My teacher at elementary school said that's when you meet someone for the first time. You should always use your full name. Yes, what was it again? Wilhelm Gottschalk Sigmund Ormstein. Just the 4 names then. The point is, do you have something to say? Something to add in response to Detective Gino Lestrade's last remark, perhaps? Oi, get it right, Odo. It's Inspector, like Lestrade. Why does everyone have a problem with how I address them at the moment? That is not what I saw. Oh? Yeah, there was a second explosion. It was right beside our balloon. That is true. But I'm sure. Which is what I said in it. 1 minute there was nothing there, the next a massive explosion. My teacher at elementary school says that's in someone else is speaking. If you are rude enough to interrupt, you will have the most awful life imaginable. Are all Bohemians brought up to be so full of joy? I still have money. Just before the second explosion happened next to our balloon, I clearly witnessed a green balloon flying in the sky. A green balloon? You what? I never saw nothing like that. Well, I did. I saw it, and you can't say I didn't. I will complain to the council. I will cry and scream. My testimony is the truth. I am Bohemian Prince. You cannot say is lie. That is not allowed. Holy crap, temper tantrum. Playing the bleeding royalty card, are you? Typical. Says the orphan who likes to remind people she works for Her Majesty's police.
In that case, young man, I must ask you to amend your formal testimony. In the interest of cordial national relations between Great Britain and Bohemia.
It was not the sky that's exploded. It was a green balloon that was next to ours at the time.
Hold it!
A green balloon, you say? Are you sure about that? Of course I'm sure. I'm a proud Bohemian prince. All the questions are making me boring. I think you mean bored. English very annoying. The language of my countrymen is far superior. Ragazzo, it is very wrong to lie. Lie? Flying balloons never explode. For the same reason the planets never explode. Illogical. Please tell me that doesn't mean logical. If you insult me, you insult all of Bohemia. Madai. I will have the army come and shoot all of your stupid balloons out of the sky. All of them. My God, this boy. Here you are, Your Highness. What the heck is going on? If only all international incidents were so easily resolved. What just happened? What did I just observe? Now that peaceful relations have been restored here in the courtroom, perhaps we could return to the testimony. Did you also see the moment that the cage materialized, Mr. Loon? No, I did not see an explosion myself. However, not sure if I'm supposed to present to this statement, but I do have a thing.
Objection!
Oh, the music didn't stop. The defense would have to object to that last statement, my lord.
And I would have to overrule your objection, counsel.
The defense would have to accept the penalty given.
Glad to hear it. And you would also have to think again.
Okay, I won't present there then. This one, sir?
Objection!
Okay. All right, that was you. Mr. Loon, in your testimony, you said that all 3 of the balloons you had operating at the time were undamaged. See, that is correct. If they had been caught in the explosion, it would have been terrible. I wonder if you might know what this is. I think it may be... See, part of a balloon. A burnt piece of the fabric of the envelope. Sorry? The envelope? Pardon. That is the large round part of the balloon which becomes filled with hot air. It is made from very thick fabric lined with rubber. You do not want to rip it when you are in the sky. Just as I thought. This piece of cloth was found near the experimentation stage. In other words, as Master Gods testified, a green balloon did indeed explode that day. If all the balloons in the sky above the experimentation stage belong to you, Mr. Loon, then your statement that they were all undamaged clearly contradicts the evidence. No! Well, there goes all of his balloons. If a balloon exploded that day, why did the man say so?
Maybe everyone on board was carried.
Oh no, having to spend 10 pounds for the experience, how awful.
Seems to me like those things crash 50% of the time anyway.
The instantaneous kinesis did not occur, but after the explosion on the stage, the point of the materialization shifted to a location occupied by a balloon. All the balloon burst.
Causing the balloon to explode? Yes, eminently plausible.
An unfortunate traffic accident, as it were. But it changes nothing about the pertinent facts. Hold it! This I cannot accept! Why not, Mr. Loon? You are suggesting that I am a liar! That person died in a balloon incident, eh? There's no need to get fired up, Mr. Loon. The victim was the sole fatality that day. That's right, and I prove it. Balthasar Loon is not a liar. There was no such balloon in the sky. It is non-possible. You're saying it's impossible. Why? This court has more important matters to discuss than the number of balloons that were operating that day. Aye!
Objection!
But we can't ignore the fact that nobody appears to have known anything about this other balloon until now. My lord, the defense calls for further testimony from Mr. Loon. He's the only balloon.
I concur. There is clearly more to the truth there than meets the eye. It's imperative that we clear up the issue of this phantom balloon, I feel. Witness, you will give supplementary testimony about the balloons you were operating at the exhibition.
Grazie, my lord. Grazie. Molto bene. I'm being stereotypical, Mr. Loon's balloons. As I said, Balthasar Loon is no liar. Every balloon I had in the sky landed safely. All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to the ground in an explosion, what a catastrophe! But you can't get away from the fact that the burnt-up bit of cloth was found at the scene, can you? The coppers at the yard reckon it was probably some debris thrown from the explosion on the stage. This stupid ragazzo is mistaken! My balloons have the red and blue zigzag stripes anyway! Can I get a picture or something?
So your assertion is that the balloon this child saw was not one belonging to you?
Si, exactamente! If he even saw a balloon in the first place. I do not like the sound of it. It is very bad for business. I have a good mind to sue the land of Bohemia. If you attack us, we'll fight back. It will be war. All-out war. Holy crap, you two. And then everything is fixed by buying a balloon. What happened to all-out war? Mr. Loon certainly doesn't appear to be lying, but that doesn't change the fact that the testimony and evidence are contradictory here. If the defense is unable to find fault with the witness's statements, the court must consider them the truth. Also, this child is much more obnoxious in the localized version, which is a good thing because he's supposed to be. But holy crap, think long and hard on that, my learned friend. The situation has clearly changed now. I have to get to the bottom of what happened here, no matter what it takes.
Counsel, you may now cross-examine the witnesses.
Sure, let's do it.
Hold it!
You couldn't just have forgotten one, maybe? Senor, I might not notice if I was given 100 lentils and one was missing, but we are talking about 3 enormous balloons. Do you believe I could make a mistake about something so grand and expensive? I took the liberty of having Inspector Gregson take this gentleman's warehouse. Check. I have the report here. It clearly says a total of 3 balloons.
It would appear no mistake has been made, then.
Surely Miss Lestrade could have been sent for such a menial task. What? Me? I'll tell you what I told the boss. East End kids like me can only count up to 2. Obviously that ain't true, but the boss bought it and said he'd have to go himself in that case.
Hold it!
It would be quite a catastrophe if they fell to the ground for any reason, I think. On that note, Mr. Loon, tell me, what is it that keeps these balloons in the sky? Are you an idiota? Sorry? That is like asking, why does a candle burn bright? It burns bright because it burns bright. And a balloon flies because it flies. What else? That must be Italian for, I don't know. There are 2 types of flying balloons, hot air balloons and gas balloons. Hot air balloons work on the principle of hot air being less dense than cold air, whereas gas balloons derive their lift by using a gas that is lighter than air. See, and my balloons are filled with the magic gas, I believe. Magic gas, hydrogen. Lighter than air, but highly explosive. Oh boy!
Good lord!
I do not permit smoking of the cigarettes in any of my balloons. The magic gas does not like fire. Even as a small spark of static electricity could cause the entire balloon to explode. What is the matter with you, senor? All that comes out of your mouth explosion, eh? Explosion, eh? I'll tell you, my balloons are perfectly safe. They have to be, or I cannot eat. None of my balloons exploded that day. I'm completely sure. But if you still say that is what happened, you must show me the proof. I don't have it, I don't think. Alright, so Mr. Loon had 3 balloons in the air that day. If none of them were damaged, then what was the one that exploded? I think someone is supposed to give me something up here.
Hold it!
I was surprised to find the piece of fabric still at the scene, actually. Didn't you search the area surrounding the stage for clues? Nah, I'm not into picking stuff up on the ground. Me. Always works out that way better. Always works out better diving into people's pockets instead. So much for the new career path. Mind you, the boss was on his head and knees picking up all kinds of rubbish from the floor. Thing is though, the cage went crashing into the crystal tower, didn't it? So that's where most of the investigating was going on. Even so, I would have thought someone from Scotland Yard would have gathered it up as evidence. Cole, listen to you. You stumbled across a bit of balloon and suddenly you're the best investigator in the world. Pardon? Well, you ain't got a badge, have ya? Like this one. I could arrest you with this if I wanted to. I wouldn't put it past her. Come to think of it, there was talk of some scorching on the ground at the meeting we had about the investigation.
Hold it!
There was considerable damage to the stage and surrounding area, wasn't there? Yeah, some of the coves were watching the experiment were caught in the blast and injured. Good job the old contraption didn't keel over, eh? I hadn't even considered that. Exceptional. It seems there was a great panic after the incident occurred. Nevertheless, the police shouldn't have missed a torn piece of envelope from a balloon. Inspector Gregson can expect repercussions. Oh, there goes his salary.
Like me swiping all his fish and chips, eh?
The man's soul's pleasure. None of this matters. The scrap of balloon envelope means nothing. Niente. Niente, I say.
Hold it!
You mean the color is wrong? Si, senor. I do not have any green balloons in my warehouse. And yet a piece of green cloth was found at the scene, and it's unmistakably from a balloon. Well, I do not know how that can be. Well. For the sake of argument, let's say that a green balloon did explode above the stage. You couldn't therefore conclude that it happened on the day in question. Why not? There have been recreational balloon fights over Hyde Park operating from before the Great Exhibition. One could have exploded on some earlier date, unfortunate, as I'm sure you'd agree.
You believe it may have been from some earlier balloon accident that predates the exhibition?
See! Exactamente! As Senor says, it is not from one of my balloons. Clearly this little ragazzo from Bohemia is mistaken about what he saw. If you come to my warehouse, you will see my 3 Bellissimi balloons, all present and correct. I have already verified Mr. Loon's annual business reports, and he had the same number of balloons for a year now.
Well, as thorough as ever, Lord Van Seeks. Disarmingly so.
In that case, is the young boy just imagining things? I don't think he is, even if he is a spoiled brat. As I thought, Mr. Loon's testimony just doesn't quite add up. The young Bohemian boy claims to have seen another 4th balloon, but Mr. Loon vehemently denies the possibility. And it's hard to imagine the man in charge could be mistaken by the number that were in the air. Still, this inconsistency must tell us something.
Hold it!
I still don't know what he's saying,
Excuse me.
but he's very angry. Is something wrong, Master Gotts?
It's Master Wilhelm Gostrich Sixman Ornstein!
It was on the tip of my tongue.
Ja, something is very wrong. I know what I saw. There was a green balloon there. I swear it. I swear over Bohemia.
You can speak as much bad language as you like, but it changed nothing.
How about money?
If you do not have evidence, ragazzo, then I must tell your parents to punish you, eh? Perhaps we'll let the judge decide when it comes to punishments.
Evidence?
What is this evidence?
To give a simple example, young man. A photograph, for instance. Some tangible proof of what you claim.
Well, why didn't you say so sooner? I have the photograph here.
Good gracious.
What? I had not been up in a balloon for a little while, so I was very excited. I took lots and lots of photographs of the Crystal Tower, of the Bohemian exhibit, of the streets of London, of the hot eel cellar, the balloon, and the instantaneous kinesis experiment. Did you take a picture of that? Yeah, one picture. But really? You did take one? But all I wanted was a ride in a balloon. I was not interested in boring experiments. Never mind that. Can you show us that photograph? Of course. And then you will see. You will see that I'm not lying. That I really did see a green balloon. Except it's not in color. Rip. Well, I see you are too shocked to speak.
Yes, I think shocked is indeed the word, young man.
Yeah, perhaps you cannot see that it was a green balloon from this photograph, but that is not my fault! That is the fault of the stupid person who made the camera! Wow! No more bay! The bay is gone! longer goes bae. Remember that? That is one very bohemian sounding cry. Bae! Wait, where's my kazoo? Oh, that's it. I'm using the kazoo for his crying.
Very well. The court will accept this photograph as evidence.
Photograph of the balloon. A photograph taken by Gotts while he was riding in a balloon. It shows another balloon that he claims was green and exploded moments after he took the shot.
It's not my fault. It's the fault of the person who made the camera.
Well, never mind. I'm sure you have plenty of wonderful sepia memories to take home with you. In any case, when exactly did you take that photograph?
Well, it was on the day of the big explosion.
You don't say.
When I pressed the shutter release, there was this very loud bang, and the hot wind crushed over my face.
That means this photograph was taken a split second before the explosion occurred. Well, if you ask me, this black and white photograph changes nothing. I could not give the flying fig. Lovely language you've picked up. This is so much. As I thought, Mr. Loon's... Oh, I've already read this. Bye-bye. Okay, I'm presenting this picture somewhere. I don't know where yet, but I'm presenting it somewhere. Alright, let's see what all my testimonies I got here. Well, every balloon had a sky and landed safely. This one.
Objection!
This one there's no passengers in this one. Hello? Unfortunately, the photograph Master Gotts took can't tell us the color of the balloon. But it can tell us something else. Something crucially important. What? It shows that the pictured balloon wasn't carrying any passengers.
What? Oh my goodness, you're right. But surely all the balloons would have been carrying passengers. That would be no sense in it otherwise.
See, they are for pleasure, for seeing the view. My balloons only fly for passengers. Which tells us that the pictured balloon isn't one of them. So when the incident occurred that day, there was a fourth balloon in the skies above the experimentation stage. The mysterious green balloon. I know nothing. Niente. I can only tell you one thing. If this balloon was not carrying passengers, then it was not one of mine.
Objection!
If there are illegal tradesmen everywhere you scared to look. Clearly one such an entrepreneur decided to capitalize on the opportunity presented by the Great Exhibition and managed to operate balloon flights on Mr. Loon's patch without him realizing. See! The competition trying to steal my profits. I did not notice because of the experimental that went wrong on the stage. This fourth balloon exploded at the very same moment Mr. Asman was beamed from the stage below. Right. So them scraps that fell in the ground after and left them scorch marks. They didn't come from the stage at all. It was bits of the balloon raining down. But because no one was in it, it didn't get no attention. A mysterious fourth balloon carrying no passengers, silently floating over the experimentation stage.
Objection!
This photograph shows us nothing more. A stray balloon carrying no one and operated by some rogue trader. Clearly it has nothing to do with the case. Are you sure, sir?
Its relevance does elude me, I must say.
The court has seen sufficient evidence and heard ample testimony already. The prosecution calls for this trial to be concluded. He's just reading the papers. This is going on for too long. I'm going to read the papers. Really? Have we really got to the truth yet? No, I can't let this opportunity slip away. The jurors' minds are made up, and not in our favor. What else in this photograph tells us? What else can this photograph tell us? Is there nothing more we can learn from it? There's more!
Objection!
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, wait. Please don't give your decisions yet. The photograph from Master Gotts may well be hiding one more vital clue. What's that?
A vital clue.
Objection!
We're well past the point of mere possibilities. It's time for definitives now, so tell the court. What exactly does this alleged clue in the photograph prove? We can reasonably assume that the picture balloon was destroyed in the searing heat of the explosion.
Ja, Sie right. That's right, Ja. It was not my fault.
Evidently, because the birdcage from the kinesis machine materialized in the sky where it had been flying, and the balloon, being filled with flammable hydrogen, instantly and explosively ignited.
Objection!
No, that's not what happened. What?
It would appear that this photograph requires closer examination. Counsel for the defense, you will highlight the location of this alleged clue in the photograph for the court.
Of course, my lord. If you look closely, it's plain enough to see. And what's shown is linked to another piece of evidence we have. In a way that leads to an unbelievable conclusion. The clue that heavily suggests the real reason the balloon exploded is whatever this weird light is.
Take that!
The timing of this photograph can only be described as miraculous. As I take a drink of water. If you look, you'll notice there's a bright white line that appears to point directly at the balloon. Most likely a rare light caught incidentally on the film.
I'm afraid I can see nothing of the sort.
If you look with the magnifying glass, my lord, it becomes clear what the nature of the bright line really is.
Goodness, what is that?
Undeniably some flash of light, yes.
Oh, golly. Do you think it might be lightning?
It was clear skies that day, but it couldn't have been a finer day.
I believe we may be looking at fire.
A bolt of fire heading straight for the balloon, like an arrow.
Indeed, even to my aging eyes, it would appear to be a flame of some sort. My word, are you suggesting this flame struck the hydrogen gas that filled the balloon?
Objection!
That's absurd. The balloon would have been 60 feet above the ground at the time. No flame could possibly have reached such a height.
Objection!
You want to bet? Actually, it's my opinion that a particular piece of evidence found at the scene reveals how that is exactly what did happen. What evidence?
If such evidence exists, counsel, then for goodness sake, present it, man. What evidence explains this mysterious streak of flame that appears to be heading directly for the balloon?
Take that!
This was found hidden at the foot of a small ornamental tree near the scene.
Good lord, is that a crossbow?
An arrow dipped in oil and set alight could have been shot from this weapon, sending a flaming arrow straight into the hydrogen-filled balloon. Are you suggesting that crossbow was used to deliberately...
Blimey, you're right! That streak of light in the photo looks just like an arrow, don't it?
Then the explosion of the balloon, it was very likely the result of a flaming arrow from this crossbow, igniting the hydrogen gas inside it. No! Damaged! Take that, prosecution.
Order! Counsel! This is an extraordinary supposition.
If the aim was to cause the balloon to explode, the shooter could have used a gun, of course. However, there's an obvious reason why that would have been out of the question. The noise of the discharge. Of course. That's right. By using a crossbow, the projectile could be fired at the balloon silently. Well, yeah, if someone had shot a gun off in the exhibition grounds, it would have caused a real panic. But with the big explosion, there was a very big panic anyway, no? I don't like this. I don't like this either! I should be pleased to have found a plausible new explanation for all this. But something feels wrong.
Objection!
Do you understand the implications of what you're saying, my Nipponese friend? If a flaming arrow did indeed hit the balloon, then obviously it would have exploded. And if the birdcage appeared from the cloud of smoke that ensued...
What? Wait a minute. What are you really saying here? I don't get it. Was the birdcage beamed up into the sky after all? Or what?
Goodness me.
Now I understand. That's what that sinking feeling is about. I think there's a good chance that the birdcage was actually concealed inside the balloon all along.
What? Did I just hear that correctly, Council?
There's no going back now. The horse has bolted. Let's assume, as I said, that the birdcage was hidden inside the green balloon from the start. You know what? I'm honestly surprised that, like, from the shot that the body didn't, like, burst into flames, all things considered. On stage, when the experiment had started, the birdcage in the instantaneous kinesis machine disappeared in a cloud of smoke. At that moment, the flaming arrow was fired from the ground, causing the green balloon to explode and drawing the attention of the spectators to the sky above their heads. From amid the smoke, the hidden birdcage then appeared and fell down and crashed into the crystal tower. I think you all agree it's entirely plausible that what I've just described is the real truth behind the miraculous experiment carried out that day.
Good grief!
Rubble, 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 rubble.
Objection!
Yeah, once again, I'm shocked that it just didn't burst into flames, all things considered, in the close proximity of, like, a hydrogen balloon that exploded. This is ludicrous. What you've described is no science experiment. It's child's play. A contemptible display of stage magic. Both Mr. Sholmes and Iris said that the experiment was a scientific impossibility. In which case, this is the only way to explain what happened that day. In any case, the victim's body was found inside the birdcage in the crystal tower. If the instantaneous kinesis didn't take place, how do you explain that? If I may put in a word, as a man of magic myself, such apparent discrepancies can easily be explained by some simple deception. Juror number 3. All that would be needed is a doppelganger, someone who looked very similar to the victim, Mr. Asman, and having this other man appear on stage to the front of the show as a body double. Yes, of course. So in fact, Mr. Asman must have been inside the birdcage that was concealed inside the balloon right from the start.
Objection!
That balloon would have been filled with hydrogen. Anything hidden inside it would have been scattered to the four winds when it exploded. No one would ever have embarked on such a risky venture. Not necessarily. The explosion force of the balloon gas could very much depend upon the mixture ratio. Juror number 4. I love how all the jurors today are just science. We're going to talk about it. Science and how magic works. Flying balloons are rarely filled with pure hydrogen, but a mixture of other gases such as helium as well. Also, I learned a fact about Takumi recently. He likes magic tricks. He can do a couple of magic tricks. So, like, I'm not surprised that there's a case talking about, magic tricks and stage magic and stuff like this. Flying balloons are rarely filled with pure hydrogen, but a mixture of other gases such as helium as well. Helium on its own doesn't explode, but by controlling the gas mixture ratio, the explosive force can be altered. The mixture ratio. Obviously, the victim's body would have suffered some burns. That would be unavoidable. but not to such an extent as to render this whole obscene charade impossible. So everything that happened can be explained, logically and scientifically. The explosion that engulfed the stage at the start of the experiment was no accident. It was all part of an elaborate deception to make it appear that instantaneous kinesis had occurred.
Well, goodness me.
And if we accept that this is what happened, it means that the victim, Mr. Asman, was never present on the public experimentation stage to begin with. In short, he couldn't have been killed by the defendant, who was on stage in full view the entire time. Ugh! This will be very hard for the prosecution to counter. Lord Van Zieks can't credibly maintain that Professor Harebrain is a suspect now. Hold it! I don't know who's saying this. Oh no, Albert! No! Albert! Albert! Mr. Naruhodo, I appreciate your efforts. Thank you. But, Professor? Please no. But you can stop now. Just keep your mouth shut, please. Sorry? What's all this about, Mr. Harebrain? No. I'm sorry, Albert. Albert Harebrain, hereby confess that it was me who stabbed Mr. Odiasman. Yes, it was me with my faithful friend and partner, Andrew the Screwdriver. What are you doing? Albert! Order!
Defendant, explain this sudden confession.
Objection!
Please! Professor Harebrain, what are you talking about? Look, I'm trying to save your ass. Stop lying to the court. It's what I've said all along. I must protect my hypothesis and my precious machine. Are you gonna die for it too? You stand there and claim it was all a trick, an elaborate prank. But where's your proof? No, you'd have to explain the machine if you wanted to prove it, but then it would be all over. My beautiful hypothesis would be laid bare. I mean, the dignity of it. It's clear that you drew the plans for the experiment, but you didn't actually build it. It's quite conceivable that you were duped, Professor. And if you just let Baroque... Yes? I'll cooperate. I'll do whatever you say. I swear it. So please, ensure the special dispensation of the Scientific Equipment Act is adhered to and protect my creation. No. Baroque, please don't. Oh. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hollow chalice at this critical juncture. Here's to my learned Nipponese friend. What? And his upcoming attempt to clarify the defense's position in the light of the accused's confession. Do you intend to formally assert that the experiment was nothing more than a conjuring trick? Because the moment you do, the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act that protects the professor's invention will cease to apply. The prosecution will then demand a rigorous examination of the machinery involved in order to establish the truth. However, if you acknowledge that the machine is genuine and instrumental in the victim's murder, any chance of investigating will be crushed, and the confidentiality of the professor's hypothesis preserved. I'm sorry, but, I'm here to save your ass, Albert?
Well, counsel, what is the defense position on the matter?
What Professor Harebrain, my client, actually asked of me was to prove that the explosion on stage was an accident and protect the secrecy of his hypothesis. But there's no way to do that without implying the professor's guilt. Do I protect my client's life by asserting his innocence, or do I uphold my client's requests but see him condemned? Either way, I can't avoid betraying his trust. You've been silent long enough. is in talking your trade, my learned friend? Or has all knowledge of English escaped your confused Nipponese mind? Mr. Naruhodo! There's no escape here. I have to make a choice. But it's an impossible one. I have to give up on something. But what? The defense asserts that the defendant's instantaneous kinesis machine was in fact... I'm sorry, Albert. Ugh. No, I can't say it. My client placed his faith in me. I just can't let him down. What must I give up on is not the question you have to ask yourself here. It's what can I protect? Hello! Hello again, Mr. Naruhodo. It's been far too long. Hi, Susato! Susato-san! But what are you... Hey-ya! Ah! My first Susato takedown in 6 months. I bless this song. This is the only time we get to hear this one more time, so enjoy it. There'll be a time to talk later, Mr. Naruhodo, but for now, we must concentrate on the task at hand. Which is working out not what I have to give up on, but what I can protect. Professor Hairbrain! Yes? Yesterday you told me that science is the pursuit of truth. Well, my job is to pursue the truth too. Yes, of course. And personally, I believe that you didn't stab Mr. Asman. I think you've come to realize something yourself too, haven't you? That your experiment and the machine you built with the victim are questionable. The truth behind that is what we must both pursue now. Aw, goodbye Susato's objection theme. So, you finally opened your eyes. What? And as for you, Albert, you can't ignore this any longer. Having heard my learned friend's assertion, don't you have something to say? Baroque. He probably is, in his own way, quietly. Lord Van Zeeks. Gosh, I've never heard him speak that way before. In truth, there is one thing, something I've remembered that's of relevance. What? On the day it happened, just before I began the experiment, I saw a man near the stage. A man holding that crossbow. I beg your pardon? Rubble. Professor, did the man have any distinguishing features? What did he look like? Taller than me, and thinner than me, with straight hair, straighter and whiter than mine. Let me see. One less lens than me, too. A monocle. A rather stylish black monocle. But one thing in particular will help to positively identify the man. You see, I know him very well. After all, he's the engineer who built my invention. What? He built the machine. That's right. Mr. Asman introduced him to me a year ago. He's a man by the name of Enoch Drebber. And it's out. Enoch Drebber! Does this name mean something? Members of the jury seem flustered. Not a name of any scientist wishes to hear. The man's an abomination. Not a name any conjurer wishes to hear either. Who on earth is he? I'm afraid this is the first tale of this nature that I've heard in scientific circles in connection with that name. There's talks of other flamboyant experiments that turn out to be nothing but stage trickery in the end. Obviously, the rascal is after the government's research grant money. When magicians are in need of money, I have heard of them resorting to these underhand tactics. Some acquaintances of mine with experience of such things have mentioned Enoch Drebber's name before. The man is both an engineer and a magician. Yes, we're dealing with an unparalleled confidence trickster here. That's Enoch Drebber for you. The name has arisen. And poor Benjamin is not happy. Sad Benjamin is sad. I mean, sad Albert.
So it's true then. My invention, my great machine, it was just a grand illusion.
Considering what we just heard about Mr. Drebber's character, I'm sorry to say that sounds increasingly likely.
Even though no one else believed it, I wanted to. I wanted to believe that machine would function exactly as my hypothesis predicted.
Which is why you are so opposed to it being investigated, I presume.
I knew that if the machine was examined in detail, its construction would give away my hypothesis. Obviously, I didn't want that to happen. But at the same time, I knew that if it was found to be nothing more than a trick, then a work of deception, then everything I worked towards, all my research, all my dreams, my whole life would be over. I was terrified at the prospect.
So you really had no idea then, did you? About the true nature of the machine that was built, and the true nature of Mr. Drebber.
I never questioned anything. I didn't want to question it.
It's entirely possible that Mr. Asman and Mr. Drebber were working together to use you as a means of fraudulently acquiring the research grant money.
When I announced my invention to the crowd that day, it was the finest moment of my career. I pulled all the levers and turned all the dials in exactly the way Drebber described. When the smoke suddenly started billowing out, I panicked. I didn't know what was happening. But I really don't know how the whole illusion was made to work. I don't know anything anymore.
Oh, bunny brain. Let me confirm one final point with you, Professor. Do you now consent to the prosecution submitting the necessary paperwork to release your invention from the protection afforded by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act?
Yes, please go ahead. I'm very sorry.
Oh, bunny brain.
It would appear that we shall have to suspend proceedings for the remainder of the day now. Lord Van Zeeks,
My lord.
the court has newly been made aware of another party whose involvement in this matter is critical.
Yes, Mr. Drebber.
Gather information about the man, if possible. I should like him served with the subpoena.
With pleasure, my lord.
Now, counsel for the defense.
Yes, my lord.
When we reconvene, I shall be looking for one thing and one thing alone from you. Evidence that the defendant is innocent of the crime for which he presently stands accused.
I understand.
Good. In that case, this court is adjourned until tomorrow morning.
Yay! Let's go hang out with Sasato now. Woo! Is it gonna be Daniel? Or are we gonna have another scene before that happens? Okay, it's another scene. 23rd October, 1:36 p.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. Hi, Albert. I'm sorry, man.
Mr. Naraldo,
Yes?
I'm so sorry.
I was wrong. You were right. I tricked you. You trusted me. I dragged you. It's just my mess.
Oh, how did I ever come to this?
How did it ever come to this? I'm so sorry. Gosh, I don't know who's worse, Soseki or Albert with their like outbursts. Did you really have no idea, Professor? About what Mr. Drebber was really up to, I mean? About what he was really constructing? Naturally. That machine was the embodiment of my hypothesis, of all my hopes and dreams. I had complete faith in it. Alright, in that case, I won't say any more. Now, sadly, the murder accusation against you still stands, so we must do as much investigating as we can before the trial resumes tomorrow. Well, thank you for doing so much for me. I mean, it's my job. Tee-hee. Hi, Susato!
I'm so sorry for arriving late this morning, Mr. Naruhodo.
Arriving late?
Didn't you receive my postcard? I wanted to let you know when I'd arrive.
Postcard? What postcard? Iris?
I hid it from you, Runo, so it would be a surprise. Well, did it work?
I was surprised, all right, especially when she threw me to the ground.
Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I was just so happy to see you again that it sort of slipped out.
Just sort of? Maybe we could stick to more traditional displays of emotion in future?
Susie's train was late into London Victoria this morning, you see? But we made the coachman really whip the horses hard so she didn't miss the whole trial. I was watching from the gallery for a while, but in the end, I'm afraid I couldn't contain myself.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Oh,
having you at my side in court gives me the strength I need to win. So, I'm, delighted to see you back in London.
Oh, you're too kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm delighted to be here. I hope I can continue to be of service to you.
Of course. So, what's brought you back? Did Professor Mikatoba not protest?
Let's save all that conversation for when we're back at home, shall we? You know, I've made one of my most special blends ever for this special occasion.
I'm surprised Baroque didn't say anything about the toss.
Oh, Iris, how wonderful! I can't wait.
Susato-san was back in London. It's hard to describe how happy that made me feel at that time. But despite my elation, our tale was about to take yet another extraordinary turn. To be continued. Do you think we can do this in 2 hours? Do you think the I think we might go over.